All right, so good morning, everyone. Give me a chance to get my headphones in. I'm not sure why I wasn't letting me do live stream before, so I wasn't, but I'm just online real quick just to let you know that I'm safe and I'm okay. Um, so I started yesterday talking a little bit about the women's ministry and the singles ministry, which is so important. I'm going to try to backtrack. I'm going to keep this no longer than 30 minutes because there are things that I need to document and I need to write down. The women's ministry, again, is woven from the room. It's women of virtue, excellence, and nobility, and warriors of missionary battles and blessings. And I explained yesterday how that tied in because in order to have blessings, you have to go through some battles. And women that are marginalized, and marginalized doesn't necessarily mean homeless, but it could be you're someone that's bullied at work. You could be someone that has been a victim of the criminal justice system. You could be someone that has been impacted as such by untraditional housing and impacted further by such with emotional and mental health opportunities, which go hand in hand and they're all the same. So the way that they say it is that you have your plans that you have for yourself, but God devises your steps. I have my ministry set up each day of what's supposed to happen, and with me doing everything, all of the admin, all the marketing, all of the technical support and everything, it goes in cycles. And so I end up sometimes getting so into and I don't know if you guys can hear me. Let me see if I can get these headphones to operate here. And this is Zeus. At least that's what they call him. So, but anyhow, and I have an animal advocacy program as well. So, what I wanted to share with you is that it's so important that when we see something, we say something, and that's just not for you know folks that are in positions where they're already in respected authority, but this is also for situations in general where there could be harm done. Um, like I said, let me like I said, I try, and after kind of seeing all of the plethora of different videos that I put out last night, I saw why I try to, at least put things together because it can be so much that you don't get it, but this is very authentic and very real. Um, and I'm going to try to take you through a quick journey of my day yesterday so you know where we are right now. So, what I'm going to try to do, because this week I feel like God is really pushing me for the singles ministry and to kind of get out there because it's important as a single woman. I am single and satisfied that people know that, and then people keep their eyes out, and I feel like in churches, in communities in general, for single women. Last night I was out here trying to have a paint and sip, or I was starting to. A car pulled up, and I've become accustomed to the fact that I've been out here before, so nobody's going to bother me. They're that, and I've started to realize that people bring their own people, so I don't have to worry for the most part. But what happened recently, there is, like I said, a vehicle with a Caucasian male, probably around 5'4", 5'5", Caucasian or Caucasian Hispanic, and there are situations where when you don't speak to people, they feel like it's a control issue. They need to control and they need to be able to get their claws into you, right? And so, with that being said, and someone just went into the library, I need to talk to them. It's kind of early. But with that being said, um, I ask that the community do keep their eyes out for me. My name is Maria Chung Willoughby, and you will see me out in the public, working in the parks, working, relaxing, having snacks, that type of thing. And the work I think is very meaningful. And now the quick run through of yesterday, and this is just a test to see. Is this working? Okay, this is just a test. Testing, testing, testing. This is just a test to see if the live actually works because I didn't think I have had access to it. But about my day yesterday, and I started telling you about all the different ministries and how it was impacted. And I stopped last night before all of this happened at the CSEE little X, the Central Energy Exchange, and that was supposed to be for people that, and you see how the devil works, that was supposed to be for people to promote self-love. Okay. But I think that where we need to go with this now, and I am still going to address that because it needs to be addressed, is just running through my day yesterday, and then I'll work backwards and have a lot to do. And I have lots of emails and contacts that I've gotten, but I haven't had a chance to put anything out because I was dealing with the church thing, dealing with a lot of stuff. So yesterday, my glasses, and I told y'all this a little bit yesterday. I thought I put away my glasses. I thought I put them, and this is where I keep my glasses now. This is a mask with my glasses in them to keep them protected and to keep them on my head. And then when people smoke and whatever, I have my mask automatically there. But what happened yesterday, um, the last night or the night before last, I thought I put my glasses away because they're very important to me. It took everything for me to be able to get the second pair of glasses. Now, this goes back to on July, I believe it was 26th. Um, I used a $10 bill that I found on the ground maybe a week prior to that. Didn't think anything about it. My tagline is nothing that I ever need or want costs any money. And it's really true because everything that is needed or wanted is already in house, right? So what ends up happening is, I say, well, hey, used to go to the Dollar Tree just about every week to get a new pair of glasses because they would get lost, they would get broken, they would get stolen. I'll tell y'all about this ring in a minute. They'll get stolen. So I didn't think anything of it. I went to Dollar Tree to get my glasses. And, I gave the woman, I said, well, I'm going to get the little lanyard to keep my glasses put too. So these glasses, by the way, are from another Dollar Tree. And they actually have blue light filter. And they were only $1.60. So when I went there, I got into the line. The woman that manages that store, there has been an issue with her harassing me previously, but just the only thing is, just saying disparaging things. But I ignored it and I kept on going about my business. And so what ends up happening is that bill, this is a long story short, and I told y'all this in the move part, and I want to get into detail with it because it's so important, that bill turned out to be a counterfeit bill. I didn't know it. My eyesight is very poor. For me to even go purchase these glasses, I had to have people with good eyesight to actually look to help me. But there needs to be some change, and there are some systemic barriers. It needs to be, and this is why I need to put everything ahead of time. There needs to be some change. So I'm working on that. The change that needs to be made is that, whatever situation happened, it needs to be documented appropriately. Because with a CT, which is considered a criminal trespass, that opens the door for so many other things, you know. Um, so that's one thing that needs to be handled. Also, looking at systemic barriers. So I'm addressing the legal system. Um, Again, we're looking at the employment portion of it. Workforce. When people have jobs, when I talk about marginalized people, marginalized, like I said, doesn't just mean homeless. It could be someone that's bullied a job. You could have a job and you could actually be a manager at that place that you work at, but in some places, it's not the management that actually runs it. And I learned this from the Department of Labor. It's the people that are on the lower end that are willing to be vicious and do anything it takes in order to get whatever they want done, right? Um, I had a growth partner that was there, and in that little bit of time, that it's a lot, but I just wanted to hop on here real quick. I know my live is working. If anything, hopefully, if you get anything out of it, um, if anything, I'll get some views. They saw police and they were on it, but that's the other systemic barrier that I want to talk about. When I called the police yesterday, they came out. They came way on the other side. I had to run out to over to where they were. And me being the diligent person I am, I always try to get a case number. The officer wanted to kind of leave it like, because I asked him, I didn't even know his name, what's your name? And he says, like when you wash your hands, the faucet. And it was so ironic because I had just washed my hands before I had dinner over on the other side. So, I thank God this is really a calling for me because one of my programs that I have with the Art of Good is called Heavy, Holy, Empowered, and Victorious Yielders unto Christ. Because in order to actually do God's work, you have to yield to Christ because there are so many things, systemic barriers and things that are in place that will prevent you from actually being a help or a resource or a source to someone else, right? So, all of that. So So the saying is, he's not heavy, he's my brother or my sister. And what I'm learning a lot over the past few days, and I said I was gonna make this quick. I'm 10 minutes in. So running through my day real quick, and then I'll pop in throughout the day and give little tidbits and hopefully a little bit more organized. But like I said yesterday, I went out to get glasses, and this is why I think God called this to happen, because I know I put those glasses away neatly and nicely because I know I need them. They are my work, they are my life force, everything. Speaking of which, my hands have recently started cramping up real bad. I'm only 50, but I think author is really setting in. If that's what it is, I need to do some research on that. So my hands and my eyes, everything I have, I need. My feet. So if you're healthy, count yourself, count it all joy. But so yesterday I started on my journey. I walked behind, when I went to the other Dollar Tree, I walked behind CVS, the pharmacy, because that's the shorter way. And then I wanted to avoid the parking lot because the parking lot is very, very, very crowded. So I don't want to have them watching out for other cars and watching out for random pedestrians popping up in unexpected places. So there's a place where the cars kind of face the car wash, and there's like a little line of trees that kind of walk through there. Now, before I got to the CVS, there was a simply 10 or something like that, which is very similar to Fashion Sense. I stopped in at every store that I thought may have the reading glasses, so I didn't have to walk across town, so that I could, get my work done. And I asked them, hey, you got reading glasses? None of the places. I stopped at City Trends, Dollar General, the Family Dollar, Dollar Tree / Dollar Tree, which they said they don't know why they put the name like that, because it's more like Walmart, which is really true. These same glasses that I got were $11 at Family Dollar, but $1.50 at Dollar Tree. But anyhow, so I walked into Simply 10. I walk in, and I don't see anybody. And so I said, hello. I can't see anybody anyway without my glasses. But I said, hello. Um, do you guys sell reading glasses? I heard a voice from the back say, yeah, no, we don't sell reading glasses. And they said, hey, Maria, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't see you, so I don't know who it is, and they walked right up on me, and they actually had to walk up and be in my face, and I still didn't see. The only thing I recognized was the dimples and the smile, and I knew the warm spirit. So it was a sister that went to one of the churches I visit. Now I'm gonna say this for those of you that go to church. Churches can be the most evil place, and that's why the good people are bought there, is to kind of straighten it out a little bit. There are good people that are strong enough to be there and stand within the church, but you can't fight with monsters without becoming one. So, you have to be able to kind of maneuver both ways. For those people, they have their tidbits too. But, it was a pleasant surprise. I'm a loner. I'm to myself because I like work. I like peace, nature. I like peace. And that's what I like. So I kept it moving. And then when I got to the CVS parking lot, I hear somebody call out to me. And so, I'm thinking, I just had a pleasant situation. Let me be nice again. Perhaps, this would be another pleasant surprise, right? So as I said, and I just want to let you know, I have no secrets unless it comes to, my personal safety and disclosing information that's going to um, mess with my personal safety. So I see a person in the car, and I'm thinking, okay, this might be a brother from a church, or, some outreach or something somewhere that I'm aware of. I don't know. So I'm waiting for God to give me my next pleasant surprise. And I guess the next pleasant surprise he gave me is, hey, you need to work on this singles ministry, and you need to work on these women's issues and causes, because I'm about to put it in your face because you put it on the back burner. And we don't do that. He didn't put these ministries in my heart, in my mind, and on my feet for me to not address them. So, I told the guy, hey, I can't see you, don't have my glasses now. I can't see myself, but hey, I can't see you, and I really can't hear you. I can't really hear what you're saying. And as I'm listening to this, it sounds like a big bad wolf, but I can't hear what you're saying, and I kept saying that. And then finally he got out the car. And, for that to me, which is again, a false green flag, if you will, that to me, because he got out the car, that means that this is an okay person because he's being seen. But the thing about it is the way that the cars are, there's bushes over here. So really he couldn't be seen. But the people at the car wash heard him because they started clearing their throat and whatever. And I noticed some commotion over there. So that means they were listening and they were kind of trying to watch out for me, but I didn't know. And so as we started chatting and talking, I just kind of laughed, and I was just like, hey, just to let you know, I can't. He said, well, you're looking right at me, so you can't see. And then I laughed because I thought about it, and I think about how Stevie Wonder, They were saying they don't think he's really blind because he can see if a pretty girl comes, he smiles and whatever, but it might be perfume, whatever, like that, right? But now I understand his plight because I can't see. But if you're right up on me, I can see. I can clearly make out the features. The guy had a big round, kind of round like my round head, but his is a perfect circle. I have cheeks and all that. But big round head, big lips, big nose, slight mustache, and no eyebrows. If you remember the cartoon Little Bill, his eyebrows are like that. And he looks like him, except he has a big round head. He had on a big long sleeve black t shirt, some athletic gray, white, and black shorts, and some black like mid calf high socks and black slides. And he was driving a black little mini SUV box type car. So, you know, I made a joke about that, and I, explained to him what the situation is. When you're sitting over there, all I see is a brown blur. I can't see you. And so then, we started talking. I started telling him about the newsletters that I write to promote what I do and my ministries and whatever. And then you could hear the people over at the car wash, like somebody was clearing their throat. And I guess it was trying to give me a warning, but I didn't realize what was going on. But I could see the change in this guy's face that, that somebody hears him and sees him. So he was just like, well, do you need a ride or do you prefer to walk? And I was just like, at this point, I don't, I don't mind a ride, because I'm thinking I'm about to be pleasantly surprised some more. So many blessings, right? And so I get in the car and we start talking, and he says, to be honest with you, and I told y'all yesterday how, spirits, whether it be the devil or whether it be good spirits, that it's a spirit and not that individual because the exact same words will be said. And so this person said to me, and I don't think I told the story here, but I need to share it about when the hurricanes came and I almost drowned because this car was behind me, and I was ignoring them. I stepped into this ditch and I went almost all the way underwater. It was crazy. And when the guy pulled me out, and he was just like, well, he tried to put my bags in his car, and I was just like, oh no, 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 no. I'm fine. Thank you for saving my life. And he was just like, well, I didn't just stop just to pull you out of the water. I stopped you because I actually wanted to talk to you. And I'm just like, sir, I have to say no, thank you. And this guy was the same exact verbiage. He was just like, well, the reason that I stopped was because I wanted to actually talk to you. And I'm just like, and I don't, it was the same exact words. It's like he was interested in wanting to I was just like, no. And so what I found out eventually, it turned out where he was trying to solicit me. And I was like, oh no. And me, the curious person I am, I was like, you can let me out right here. And then he was like, no, I'm going to take you where you need to go, and I'm just like, no, you can let me out here. Then I was like, okay, if I push too hard, I don't know, I might end up on 48 hours somewhere. So I'm just like, okay. So he let me out finally, because again,